You think you know Nevada. Neon, slot machines, Elvis impersonators, and a whole lot of empty desert. But Nevada is far weirder than the postcard lets on. There's a World War II bomber sitting at the bottom of Lake Mead, right where it crashed on a hush-hush mission in 1948. Out in one old mining town, a motel packed with hundreds of clowns sits right next to a graveyard more than a century old. And most of the gold this state digs up is invisible. So small you need a microscope just to prove it's even there. Almost nobody talks about any of it. So here are 35 facts that prove Nevada is stranger than you ever imagined. Let's get into it. Fact 35. The Las Vegas Strip isn't in Las Vegas. Here's a technicality that trips up almost everyone. The famous Las Vegas Strip, with nearly all of its giant casinos, does not actually sit inside the city of Las Vegas. It lies just south of the city limits, in an unincorporated area called Paradise. Even the iconic Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign stands outside the city. The most famous street in Nevada isn't technically in the city it's named after. Fact 34. The city was born from a swamp in the desert. The name Las Vegas is Spanish for the meadows, which sounds absurd for a place surrounded by sand. But it fit because the whole city grew up around natural springs that fed green, marshy meadows in the middle of the Mojave. Travelers stopped there for the water. Those springs kept the city alive for decades, and then they were pumped so hard they dried up completely. Las Vegas was built on an oasis that no longer exists. Fact 33. The lake's so deep it never freezes. Straddling the Nevada and California line sits Lake Tahoe, one of the deepest lakes in the entire country at around 1,645 feet. It holds so much water, roughly 39 trillion gallons, that it could cover the whole state of California over a foot deep. All that volume keeps it from ever freezing over, and the water is so clear that in places you can see objects more than 60 feet down. A bottomless blue lake sits high in the mountains of the driest state in America. Fact 32. It's the driest state in the country. For all that lake water, Nevada as a whole is the single driest state in the United States, averaging only about 10 inches of rain a year. Whole stretches go months without a drop. The mountains to the west squeeze the moisture out of the clouds before it ever arrives, leaving Nevada baking in their shadow. The Silver State is essentially one enormous high desert wearing a few lakes like jewelry. Fact 31. It runs on more wild horses than anywhere else. Nevada is home to more wild Mustangs than any other state in the country, roughly half of all the free-roaming wild horses in the United States. Herds of them still thunder across the open range, descendants of animals turned loose or escaped over the centuries. Drive the back highways and you may have to stop for a band of Mustangs crossing the road. The empty desert most people yawn past is one of the last great strongholds of the wild horse. Fact 30. It's the only state where you can legally visit a brothel. Nevada holds a distinction no other state can claim. It is the only place in America where regulated legal brothels are allowed to operate, permitted in certain rural counties under state law. It's a leftover from the rowdy mining camp days that somehow never got repealed. Whatever you think of it, Nevada is genuinely one of a kind here, a legal reality that exists nowhere else in the country. Fact 29. There's no state income tax at all. Nevada is one of a small handful of states that charges its residents zero personal income tax, and it's written right into the state constitution. The state funds itself instead largely off the casinos, the tourists, and the mines. It's a big part of why people and companies keep flooding in from higher tax states next door. Nevada quietly built an entire economy on letting other people gamble. Fact 28. The gold here is invisible to the naked eye. Nevada is the largest gold producer in the United States by far, but almost none of it looks like gold. Most of it is Carlin-type gold, microscopic particles locked inside ordinary-looking rock, so small that early prospectors walked right over billions of dollars of it without a clue. It takes crushing tons of stone and a chemical bath to pull it out. If Nevada were its own country, it would rank among the top gold producers on Earth, off treasure nobody can even see. Fact 27. The Navy's Top Gun school is in the desert. You'd expect the Navy's elite fighter pilot school to sit on a coast somewhere. Instead, the legendary Top Gun program, officially the Navy Fighter Weapons School, moved to Naval Air Station Fallon in the Nevada desert back in 1996. The wide-open airspace over the empty state is perfect for dogfighting practice. Some of the best combat pilots on the planet train for war hundreds of miles from the nearest ocean above the Nevada sagebrush. Fact 26. One depot holds a world of ammunition. Near the town of Hawthorne sprawls one of the largest ammunition storage depots in the world. Thousands of earth-covered bunkers spread in endless rows across the desert floor. From above, it looks like a strange alien city of green mounds. It has quietly stored the nation's bombs and munitions for generations. A small Nevada town is surrounded by one of the biggest arsenals on the planet, and most travelers drive past without ever knowing. Fact 25. The government wouldn't admit Area 51 existed until 2013. Everyone has heard of Area 51, but here's the genuinely strange part. For decades, the United States government refused to officially acknowledge that the base even existed, leaving it off public maps entirely. It wasn't until 2013, when declassified documents were released, that its existence was formally confirmed on paper. To this day, a secret, unmarked airline flies workers there from Las Vegas. An entire base was hidden in plain sight for over half a century. Fact 24. It's the most bombed place in America. Out in the desert north of Las Vegas sits the old Nevada test site, and the ground there has absorbed more nuclear explosions than anywhere else in the country. Hundreds upon hundreds of detonations over the decades. During the 1950s, the government built fake neighborhoods complete with furnished houses and mannequin families, then nuked them on purpose to study the blast. The craters are so huge they can be seen from the sky. America practiced the end of the world in Nevada. Fact 23. A World War II. Bomber rests at the bottom of Lake Mead. In 1948, a B-29 Superfortress was flying low over Lake Mead on a classified research mission when it clipped the glassy water and sank straight to the bottom. The crew survived, but the details of the flight stayed secret for 50 years. The wreck wasn't rediscovered until 2001, still remarkably intact in the deep water. Divers now visit a genuine World War II bomber sitting silently beneath one of the most popular lakes in the West. Fact 22. Hoover Dam is still hardening after almost 90 years. Hoover Dam holds so much concrete that engineers say it could pave a 2-lane highway clear across the United States. It was poured so thick that if they'd cast it all in one piece, the heat would have taken over a century to cool. Even now, decades later, the innermost concrete is technically still curing and getting harder. A wall of stone that helped tame the Colorado River is quietly, slowly, still setting. Fact 21. It has one of the tallest concrete arches in the hemisphere. Just downstream from Hoover Dam soars the Mike O'Callaghan and Pat Tillman Memorial Bridge, its deck standing nearly 900 feet above the Colorado River. It's one of the tallest concrete arch bridges in the entire Western Hemisphere, and drivers crossing it can't even see the dam below, thanks to the high walls. An engineering marvel most people cross in seconds spans one of the deepest gaps in the Southwest. Fact 20. At Red Rock, the mountains are upside down. Just outside Las Vegas, Red Rock Canyon hides a geological head-scratcher called the Keystone Thrust, where ancient gray limestone has been shoved up and over much younger red sandstone. In other words, the old rock sits on top of the young rock, the exact opposite of how it's supposed to work. That red rock itself is the fossilized remains of enormous sand dunes. The layers of Nevada were stacked in the wrong order by the sheer force of the earth. Fact 19. You can ski 45 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. People picture Las Vegas as pure, blistering desert, but looming right above it is Mount Charleston, tall enough to hold snow and a full ski resort less than an hour from the casinos. You can gamble in shorts in the morning and be throwing snowballs by afternoon. The mountain even shelters a species of chipmunk that lives nowhere else on Earth. There's a cold, alpine world hiding directly above Sin City. Fact 18. Ancient people carved messages here 7,000 years ago. Near the town of Fallon sits Grimes Point, covered in petroglyphs pecked into dark desert rock, some believed to be among the oldest rock art in North America. Spirals, animals, and symbols nobody can fully translate cover the boulders. The people who made them were here thousands of years before the pyramids of Egypt. Nevada holds an outdoor art gallery older than almost any human structure on the continent. Fact 17. Legend says red-haired giants once lived in a cave here. Lovelock Cave carries one of the eeriest legends in the West. Local Paiute tradition tells of the Sitka, a race of red-haired giants who once terrorized the area before being wiped out. The cave was later mined for bat guano, and inside it, archaeologists found some of the oldest duck decoys on Earth, woven from reeds around 2,000 years ago. Fact and legend sit side by side in the dark of a Nevada cave. Fact 16. There's a motel full of clowns beside a graveyard. In the mining town of Tonopah stands the Clown Motel, often called the scariest motel in America, decorated with hundreds upon hundreds of clown figures staring from every shelf and wall. And right next door sits the old Tonopah Cemetery, filled with miners who died over a century ago. Guests sleep surrounded by clowns, steps from the dead. It's exactly as unsettling as it sounds, and people line up to stay there. Fact 15. That same town has some of the darkest skies in America. Tonopah isn't just clowns and graves. Because it sits so far from any big city's glow, it has become known as one of the best stargazing spots in the entire country. On a clear night, the Milky Way stretches from horizon to horizon in a way most Americans have never actually seen. A tiny, half-forgotten mining town turned out to be a doorway to the whole galaxy. Fact 14. A city of 20,000 shrank into a ghost town. Goldfield was once the largest city in all of Nevada, a booming gold town of around 20,000 people in its heyday over a century ago, with fancy hotels and grand ambitions. Today, only a few hundred residents remain among the crumbling old buildings. The rest simply vanished when the gold ran out. You can walk streets that once buzzed like a real city, now silent and mostly empty under the desert sun. Fact 13. There's a forest made of cars. Just outside Goldfield stands the International Car Forest of the Last Church, where dozens of old cars, trucks, and buses have been planted nose down in the dirt or stacked on end, then splattered in wild graffiti. It's one of the largest car art installations in the country, sitting alone in the empty desert. Nevada took a junkyard and turned it into a surreal outdoor gallery you can wander through. Fact 12. Someone built a house out of 50,000 bottles. In the ghost town of Rhyolite stands a house built almost entirely from glass bottles, roughly 50,000 of them, cemented together back in 1906 by a miner who ran out of lumber. Over a century later, it's still standing, glinting in the sun. Nearby, a strange open-air museum displays ghostly white shrouded figures frozen mid-step in the desert. Rhyolite died as a town, but refused to become ordinary. Fact 11. One man spent decades building a monument out of junk. Near Imlay rises Thunder Mountain Monument, a bizarre sprawling structure of concrete, bottles, scrap metal, and found objects, built by hand over many years by a single determined man as a tribute to Native Americans. Faces and figures stare out of the walls. It's raw, strange folk art in the middle of nowhere, the life's work of one person who simply refused to stop building. Fact 10. Butch Cassidy robbed a bank here. The Wild West wasn't just a movie in Nevada. In 1900, the outlaw Butch Cassidy and his wild bunch rode into Winnemucca and robbed the First National Bank, making off with a fortune before galloping into the desert. It was one of the gang's most famous heists. The quiet Nevada town still remembers the day one of America's most legendary outlaws hit its main street. Fact 9. The last stagecoach robbery in America happened here. In December of 1916, in the remote mountain town of Jarbidge, a man ambushed and robbed a mail stagecoach, killing the driver. It went down in history as the very last stagecoach robbery ever committed in the United States. Jarbidge remains one of the most isolated towns in the lower 48 to this day. The Old West didn't fade out gently in Nevada. It ended with one final holdup in the snow. Fact 8. Nevada's oldest town predates the state itself. Long before Las Vegas was anything, there was Genoa. Founded back in 1951 as a trading post at the foot of the Sierra, making it the oldest permanent settlement in Nevada. Its old saloon claims to be the oldest continuously running bar in the state. While the neon cities are barely a century old, this quiet little town was already pouring drinks when the region was still raw frontier. Fact 7. A corner of Nevada is a slice of the Basque country. Around the town of Elko lives one of the largest Basque communities in America, descendants of sheep herders who came from the mountains between Spain and France to work the Nevada range. They brought their language, their food, and their festivals, and they've kept them alive for generations. In the middle of the American desert, you can sit down to a genuine Basque feast, an entire European culture transplanted into the sagebrush. Fact 6. 2 Nevada towns ban gambling completely. In the state built on casinos, there are 2 towns where gambling is flat out illegal. Boulder City, created to house the workers who built Hoover Dam, outlawed it from the start and never changed its mind. And Tiny Panaca, founded by Mormon settlers, bans not just gambling, but the sale of alcohol too. In the gambling capital of America, a couple of towns quietly said no thanks and never looked back. Fact 5. There's a stretch of sky where planes keep vanishing. Over the mountains along Nevada's western edge lies a region grimly nicknamed the Nevada Triangle, blamed for an unusually high number of aircraft crashes and disappearances over the years. Its most famous victim was millionaire aviator Steve Fossett, who took off in 2007 and vanished, his wreckage not found until the following year. Violent mountain winds and rugged terrain make it a genuine hazard. Nevada has its own Bermuda Triangle, and it's in the air. Fact 4. The whole state was rushed into existence by telegraph. Nevada is nicknamed Battle-Born because it's the only state admitted to the Union during the Civil War. And its birth was bizarre. In 1864, desperate to get Nevada admitted in time to help re-elect Abraham Lincoln, officials sent the entire state constitution, all 16,543 words of it, from Carson City to Washington by Morse code telegraph. It took 2 days and became the longest telegram ever sent at that time. A whole state was created by tapping out dots and dashes across a country at war. Fact 3. A body older than the pyramids was found in a cave. In 1940, in a cave east of Fallon, 2 archaeologists uncovered a mummified man wrapped in a rabbit skin blanket and woven reed mats. Decades later, testing revealed the shock. He was about 10,600 years old, making him the oldest known human mummy in all of North America, more than 3 times older than King Tut. He rested in that Nevada cave for over 10,000 years before anyone found him. Fact 2. The nuclear craters reshaped the map. Back at the test site, the underground blasts didn't just shake the ground. Some of them collapsed the desert into enormous sunken craters, permanent scars pocking the landscape in neat rows. One is wide and deep enough to swallow a stadium. Test site workers even played a round of golf in one. Nevada's desert is stamped with the fingerprints of the atomic age, visible from the air, and it will stay that way essentially forever. Fact 1. Almost none of Nevada belongs to Nevada. Here's the weirdest truth of all. The vast majority of this enormous state, more than 80% of it, isn't owned by the people who live there. It belongs to the federal government, held as military ranges, test sites, and open public land, which is exactly why Nevada could hide nuclear tests, secret bases, and empty deserts the size of small countries in the first place. The state most associated with total freedom is, on paper, one of the least privately owned places in America. And now you're one of the few people who actually knows it. So the next time somebody tells you Nevada is just casinos and desert, you'll know the truth. This is a state hiding a sunken bomber, a body older than the pyramids, red-haired giant legends, a motel full of clowns, and enough secret government land to swallow whole nations. All of it sitting in plain sight. If any of this surprised you, stick around, because every state in this country is hiding something weird, and we're just getting started.